This exchange takes place during a congressional oversight hearing focused on law enforcement conduct and immigration enforcement policy, issues that have become central to national debate. Lawmakers are questioning witnesses about a controversial incident and the public statements made by government officials afterward. Hearings like this often blend legal reasoning with political messaging, so viewers should pay attention not just to the accusations themselves, but to how arguments are framed in a highly charged environment.
Remain to the hearing in Tennessee. Mr. I yield back.
Without objection. Gentleman yields back. I now recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me now? Is it?
The microphone right there.
Well, will you give me a moment to get a bit closer, please? Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I say it sincerely. I believe this is a most valuable hearing, and I'm honored that the ranking member would be here with us to accommodate us, as is the case with you. Mr. Lyons, is it true that you have a criminal justice degree, a bachelor's degree in criminal justice?
Yes, sir, it is.
Is it also true that you have a master's degree in criminal justice leadership?
Yes, I do.
And would you, as a professional with 2 degrees in criminal justice, indicate to us that if an officer commits murder, that officer should be prosecuted?
Sir, any law enforcement misconduct needs to be investigated and prosecuted.
Investigated and prosecuted. And have you seen the widely published video of the killing of Mr. Alex Preddy?
Yes, sir.
And sir, my assumption is that if I ask you whether this was an injustice, you would say you cannot comment because of an ongoing investigation. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
And what is the rationale for not responding to an ongoing investigation?
Sir, I don't want to impede or prejudice the investigation.
No, not this one. Okay. Any, in your profession now, but any investigation. What's the rationale? Not this one, any.
Same for any investigation, sir. I don't want to.
You would not want.
I don't want to bias or put my finger on the scale of any investigation.
You not. What's the rationale for your not testifying about it? Is my question.
I don't understand your question, sir.
What does the law say? What is the rationale? What harm would it do if you testified?
Because I don't have the full facts of the case yet, sir.
Exactly. That's what I expected you to say. You don't have the full facts. Thank you. And I assume you would agree with this, Mr. Scott. Is this true?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Edlow, you would agree?
I assume so. I'm not a professional in law enforcement.
Well, but you're a professional person with a degree of intellect such that you can comment on whether or not.
Well, I certainly would not comment on anything.
Not a specific case. We're talking about now any case. Would you agree that it would cause harm for you to testify before there's an investigation?
Certainly without having all the facts.
All right. Surely you would agree. Which brings us to Secretary Noem. Secretary Noem accused Mr. Preddy of brandishing a firearm while wishing to inflict harm on the officers. Secretary Noem. Same rules that apply to you apply to Secretary Noem. Accused this gentleman, Mr. Preddy, of brandishing a firearm. Secretary Noem doing this when she did without an investigation. We have to agree that there's not been an investigation. I don't think I have to ask you that. Not a complete investigation that we know of anyway. She did it right afterwards. Having done this, she is violating this very basic principle that you have called to our attention today. And we have to ask ourselves, why would she go so far as to say brandishing when he did not? The video will clearly show it. And she said wishing to inflict harm. Did not inflict any harm. But the secretary, without an investigation, made these comments. I'll tell you why. The secretary was in a rush to cover up, to make sure that she was protecting the officers without regard for the life that was lost. And in doing this, she was violating not only this basic moral concept, she was breaking the law. The secretary should be investigated right along with those officers who are out there engaged in this ungodly conduct. She should be investigated. And in my opinion, based upon my observation, secretary should not only be investigated, the secretary should be prosecuted right along with those officers. This man did not brandish. This man was not armed. This man did not attempt to hurt those officers. They should all be prosecuted. And you persons associated with the Trump
Gentleman's time
administration say lock her up. I say lock her up.
Gentleman's time has expired. I now recognize the ranking member for UCs.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to insert two statements.
Here, the questioning shifts into a broader legal principle. Officials and witnesses often avoid definitive conclusions while investigations are ongoing. In both criminal law and congressional oversight, commenting too early can influence public perception, potential juries, or internal reviews. That's why witnesses repeatedly reference not having all the facts. However, lawmakers may still use hearings to highlight perceived inconsistencies in public statements, especially when officials speak before investigations conclude. This creates a tension between caution and accountability. For viewers, consider this. When politicians draw conclusions before an inquiry finishes, does it help expose problems sooner or risk shaping the narrative before evidence is fully examined?
For the record, one submitted by the Refugee Council USA and the other from the Baptist Joint Committee on Religious Liberty.
Without objection.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of Ms. Ramirez, I ask unanimous consent to include in the record 3 articles. One, a Chicago Sun-Times article describing how U.S. Border Patrol has separated a family. Number 2, an ABC 7 Chicago article that describes how ISIS warrantless arrest in Chicago has been ruled unlawful by a federal judge. And third, a ProPublica article documenting how immigration agents are using banned chokeholds and other moves that can cut off breathing.
Without objection.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to insert in the record the following articles. A CBS News article that states that contrary to the administration's claim, only 14% of those arrested by ICE had violent criminal records. An NPR story about a DHS memo that says ICE can enter people's home without a judicial warrant, which has alarmed members on both sides of the aisle. An article from the Marshall Project that alleges that there are thousands of kids in detention, many for longer than the court-prescribed limit. An article from the Independent about a sick 5-year-old Lame Ramos asking for his mom in a detention center, which rebuts testimony we heard today that ICE was taking good care of him. A report from the Center for Election Innovation and Research updated this month that found that non-citizen voting is rare and allegations of the practice are a result of misunderstandings or fabrication. An article from the AP, which highlights that federal authorities of monitoring and tracking individuals who criticize immigration enforcement operation. A report from the Brennan Center titled, ICE Wants to Go After the Sinners as Well as Immigrants. A report from The Guardian that describes the terrible condition in ICE facilities and that ICE denied urgent medical care to a 10-year-old.
Without objection. I want to thank, Gentleman yields back. I want to thank the members, or the witnesses for being here tonight, and all the members for their questions. Members of the committee may have some additional questions for the witnesses, and we ask that the witnesses to respond to these in writing. Pursuant to Committee Rule 7E, the hearing record will be held open for 10 days. I want to let the audience know that please still be seated while the witnesses and their teams leave. Without objection, this committee stands adjourned.
Taken together, this hearing highlights how congressional debates increasingly function as both investigative forums and political messaging platforms. Lawmakers presented sharply different interpretations of events, entered advocacy articles into the record, and used procedural tools to shape the narrative around immigration enforcement and law enforcement accountability. For audiences, the key takeaway is to separate verified legal findings from rhetorical claims made during hearings, which are protected speech but not final judgments. These proceedings can influence public opinion long before courts or official reviews reach conclusions. What's your perspective? Do hearings like this clarify complex issues or deepen polarization? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more informed, fact-focused analysis.